Well, the 1972 Schwinn Continental from season 3 has been returned to its original owner, looking almost like the day 51 years ago that he brought it home from Richard's Cycle Shop on South Kedzie Avenue in Chicago. And as it turns out, that bike shop is actually still open at 103rd South Kedzie in Chicago. 5 generations of ownership, and they changed the name in 1976 to Chicagoland Bicycles. And the shop has been cleaned and reorganized a bit. That can only mean one thing. It's time for a new, dusty, rusty relic from the past for us to work on for season 4. That's what's happening on this episode of Featherstone Bicycles. Our project for season 4 is a 1973 Schwinn Collegiate Sport. That's a 5-speed bike. It's in the, as I'm told, somewhat rare color of sunset orange. Take a walk around, see what kind of shape it's in. Tires, actually the tread is pretty good, but of course the gum wall doesn't look great. I may take a steel wool, pad to that, and see if I can brighten those up. If not, we may have to get new tires. Almost everything seems to be complete on the bike. Got the original seat from back in that day. The hardware there on the seat is correct for the seat post clamp. And of course we have the wrong color handlebar tape, but fortunately at that swap meet where I got the tape for the season 3 Cool Lemon bike, I was also able to pick up several rolls of Sunset Orange. So they all seem to be a little bit different color from each other. So once we get this frame cleaned and put the Meguiar's treatment on it, we'll compare the tapes to it and see which one fits best. Front tire looks pretty similar to the rear as far as the tread and the gum wall. The more I'm looking at this, the more I think we're just going to have to get new tires. As usual, a lot of rust on these chrome rims, but if you're a regular viewer of the channel, you know that those shine up very nicely. And again, the issue here with the earlier 70s Schwinns is that they did not have reflectors either in the front or the back or on the wheels. The one thing I did notice that is a bit of an issue is that the reflectors on the pedals, this one's cracked, and on the other side, this one is here, but the reflector part is completely missing and cracked. So I really only have 2 good ones. And again, the bike shop that I normally get extra parts from did not have any of those, so I'll have to see what I can do about that. Take a few measurements before we get started. The wheel size measured from end of tire to end of tire is 26 inches, and the frame size, which is measured from the center of the bottom bracket about there to the top of the seat post tube of the frame, which ends just here above the seat post clamp, and that's 22 inches. So it's a relatively small bike. One thing I just noticed as I was about to start the disassembly was the difference on the amount of axle that is exposed on the left side versus the right side. You can see there's quite a bit more on the right side. This is telling me that either this has been taken apart and not put back together correctly, or that's not the right axle, because that actually looks like about the right amount of space, and that's obviously a lot larger, so a lot longer. So we'll have to look into that. After I go through the walkthrough, and then as I'm taking the bike apart for the initial disassembly, initial teardown, I like to keep this whiteboard handy and then write down all the things, all the parts that I'm going to need. So we have our tires, tubes, rim strips, 2 pedal reflectors. I noticed when I was taking the rear brake cable housing off, the longer piece had a split in it, and I either have some of that housing around or I know where I can get some from the bike shop. 2 brake cables, and then 1 shifter cable. And what I like to do then is I take a picture of this on my phone so that when I'm at the bike shop, I remember everything that I need. One of the things I want to show you is, you may have noticed when I was taking the handlebar tape, the black handlebar tape, off of the left-hand side, that would be the front brake side of the handlebars, there was a little few pieces of the original sunset orange tape on there, which was nice that happened. So I can compare it to the 3 rolls that I have. Now this roll I know is way too small. That's not going to fit both sides, so we can just get rid of that. And then the other 2 options are this one and this one, which this one was actually in a package, not the original Hunt Wild package, but Hunt Wild made this tape for Schwinn. You can tell they're 2 different colors, and although the outside of this would have been exposed to the sun, the inside was not. So I'm thinking this roll here is going to be a closer match. But again, I'm going to have to wait until I get the frame washed, put the compound on, and then put the wax on to see which matches best. The other thing I wanted to show you was that I said earlier when I was showing the list of parts that I need was a rear or a shifter cable for the 5-speed shifter. However, when I was taking it apart, I noticed this cable had been replaced and it is practically brand new. So no reason to get that. And also these are with this style of cylinder on the end that catches into the shifter housing are pretty expensive. They're about $8 a piece compared to the brake cables, which are only about $4 a piece. The only thing that they didn't do when they replaced this is that this is a newer cable, and that cylinder is just a little bit too wide to actually fit into the housing, and so you have to hit each side with a little touch of the grinder so that it will slide into the shifter housing. I can take something off the list, which is nice. Parts. We have the front wheel, the rear wheel, and then all of the parts we took off are on this shelf. I put the brakes and the shifter assemblies in bags just to keep everything a little bit more organized, and then it's a heck of a lot easier to keep track of things while you're cleaning them, and then when you go to put it all back together. I can say one thing for sure. This is the bag of handlebar tape that I had gotten at the swap meet. I can say one thing for sure, and that is after reorganizing the shop, especially with these bins, I have one over here as well, a larger one. I've hardly filled up with anything, but everything goes a lot smoother when your shop is clean and it's organized. That's going to do it for this episode. Remember, you yourself can make a big difference in your community, so check out the link for the podcast, An Army of Normal Folks. It's great stories about ordinary people doing extraordinary things in their community. Thanks for sticking with me, and I hope to see you next time on Featherstone Bicycles.